Welcome back to 7th Circle Gaming. It's been a while since there was a new video on the channel, and I must apologize for that. Frankly, I've been rather sick with a cold for a while. Getting over it now, thank you very much for asking, but if you do hear some extra sniffling and maybe a cough now and then, I will do my best to cut that out, but if you do hear that, you know why. Anyway, we're going to be analyzing, as the title card says, the game Helldivers 2. We'll start off the video, as we always do around here, with full disclosure. And you're welcome to pause the video and read through all of this if you like, but if that's not really your thing, just let the video run. If you've been following the channel for any amount of time, or you read any of the disclosures, you know that we only analyze single-player experiences on the channel. So, you may be asking, how do we make Helldivers 2 into a single-player experience? What we need to do is to open the settings menu and then adjust the highlighted option to either friends only or by invitation only. And that essentially makes our game into a single-player experience. The game's overworld is impressively large, divided into multiple sectors. Within each sector are between 2 and 4 planets that missions can take place on. As we can see in the graphic here, sectors are under the control of one of the game's ultimately 4 factions, either the human-controlled faction or one of the 3 alien factions. That's all for the overworld, so now then, let's take a look at one of the game's worlds. And then we'll move on and talk about the user interface. From what we can see here, the in-game world is rendered in a fairly realistic art style, and it's obviously a science fiction setting. Moving on then to the user interface. The user interface restricts itself to the corners of the screen, leaving the majority of the play space free to render the in-game world. Well then, moving on to the user interface, and this is going to be a long one because there's a lot of information displayed in a very little area, so settle in. Starting off at the bottom left-hand corner of our screen, we have the character information, and this is very dense. We have not only the currently selected weapon, but the character health indicator and the ammunition counter. At the bottom center of our screen is the stamina meter, just above which, when necessary, is displayed a notifications bar. At the bottom right-hand corner of our screen is the chat menu, although if we are playing this in a single-player experience, we aren't going to likely use that. At the top right-hand corner of the screen is the journal or the quest information. At the top center of the screen, in its usual place, is the compass, which also includes objective indicators when applicable. At the top left-hand corner of our screen is the cooldown timer or the special abilities menu, as it would be in other games. Now, we don't currently have it active, but at the bottom right-hand corner, when the player has chosen to activate it, is the mini-map. In this last bit of gameplay footage, we aim to share with you as much as we possibly can. In the area of immersion, the game has earned a score of 10 out of 15, which is frankly very close to the maximum score of 15 out of 15. From our evaluation sessions, the game seems to make effective use of all of the methods of creating immersion except story. Although that might be to be expected, as the game seems to rely more on creating a setting rather than telling a coherent story. For difficulty, the game has earned a score of 4 out of 15. From all of our evaluation sessions, we would say that the user interface is fairly simplistic. The key commands, whether the player is utilizing a gamepad or a mouse and keyboard, are genre standard with only a few modifications for this particular game. Though the game lacks any difficulty settings per se, there are settings in the settings menu that can affect the level of challenge in the game. On the other hand, the game does provide a seemingly reasonable description of the level of challenge when selecting a mission. Before we move on to discussing Lasting Appeal, there is one thing that we want to mention. This game seems to be a very well thought out game, and many of the hidden variables that we've mentioned above seem to play into a design decision on the part of the developers. In the area of Lasting Appeal, the game has earned a score of 5 out of 15. We don't have anything additional to add to this, so we'll just let you read this at your leisure. Overall, as a single-player experience, Helldivers 2 has earned a score of 6.33 out of 15, which is not far off an average score of 7.5 out of 15. That's all the objectivity we can manage for this video, so now then, let's get out the salt and get subjective. From all of our evaluation sessions, the game is slightly smoother when experienced using a gamepad as opposed to a mouse and keyboard. Despite the fact that Helldivers 2 is definitely not intended to be experienced as a single-player game, such as allegedly mission progress not counting toward the overall galactic war if played in single-player, there are some good reasons that players may want to experience the game in a single-player style. One final note before we end the video today, the game does not specifically require an SSD, but it does highly recommend one, and that's a recommendation that we would endorse. And on that final highly subjective note, congratulations to everyone who watched all the way to the end of the video. Let us know if there is a game that you'd very much like to see analyzed on the channel in the comments section below, or go ahead and let us know what you think of Helldivers 2 as a single player experience down there as well. We've been thinking about starting a Substack for the channel so we can go into more detail than these YouTube videos would allow. If you think that's a good idea, go ahead and let us know. Until the next video from 7th Circle Gaming, goodbye.